Mr. Pearce is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chairwoman, for being here and answering the questions. On page 11, you, in your testimony, you talk about investor confidence and the fairness of the financial markets. And so I kind of want to pursue the information on MF Global, if you would. Coming down into the decision on the bankruptcy, there was an option to go one direction to Chapter 11, which there are nuances that seem to favor creditors, and then the other option was to go to Chapter 7, which seemed to have nuances that favored customers. So who made the decision that it was I had previously questioned Mr. Harbeck with SIPC's CEO, and he told me that he was notified by a member of SEC Trading and Market Division at 5:20 a.m. So you got things are really rapidly deteriorating at MF Global. So 5:20 in the morning, Mr. Harbeck is just informed that the decision's already been made. Who made that decision?
Congressman, my understanding is, and I'll be happy to verify this for you, is that with respect to the holding company, the decision to go into bankruptcy was made by them and their management. The SEC staff made a recommendation. Who decided that it's going to be selected as a security firm rather than a commodity trading firm? That was a pretty key little point. Well, the SEC staff made a recommendation to the CFTC chairman and to me that the broker-dealer, the duly registered Futures Commission merchant broker-dealer, be put into SIPC. But which would mean that we're going to go and we're going to favor the investor, the creditors rather than the customers, right? Not under SIPC, no. And SIPC is required when it becomes clear that a brokerage firm is not capable of meeting its obligations to its customers. Yeah, but proceeding as a Chapter 11, if I could interrupt, proceeding as a Chapter 11 allows them to continue to try, doesn't it? But that's not at the broker-dealer level. That may have been at the holding company level. At the broker-dealer level, once it's clear they can't meet their obligations to their brokerage firm customers under SIPA, the appropriate course is the institution of a SIPC proceeding. So that decision was again made by whom? Well, it was a recommendation by the SEC staff you all were in the room as watching the progression of MF Global. When they began to dip down and use those customer segregated funds, did that qualify as misconduct? Because I'm reading in the second paragraph on page 11 there, and that you were to act quickly to halt misconduct. Is that misconduct when MF Global began to reach down and use that money? I have to say that I don't want to prejudge any potential enforcement action by opining upon whether they violated the law. So you think that it's okay for? No, it's never okay to utilize customer assets for okay, so they were doing it. Why didn't the SEC? It says here that you are to act quickly. That's your testimony. It says we're going to act quickly to halt misconduct, and you're saying it's never appropriate. Why didn't you step in and stop that? Congressman, if I could just point out, there were only 318 securities accounts at this firm. There were 30,000 futures accounts. We were not the regulator or primarily looking at all at what was happening with respect to the futures segregated accounts. That would have been. But you have an input into the room. So you got the guy that worked for Goldman Sachs sitting there in the room, Mr. Ginswer, who later recuses himself. Did you, as SEC, express concern about who CFTC had in the room? That you had a guy that was really deeply embedded with the people who were in the process. I think on October 27th, I think that Goldman Sachs actually made a large purchase. So you got Mr. Ginswer sitting in here who previously worked for Goldman. They make a large purchase of securities. They didn't even bother giving the money to them. So MF Global starving for cash, and surely, I mean, you said your law enforcement agency, surely law enforcement doesn't stop and say, well, I'm only in charge of law enforcement for my 318 firms. I mean, somebody's got to be blowing the whistle here. Of course, I agree with you, and we are. I mean, the SEC, the CFTC, the FBI, the UK Financial Services Authority are all
heavily engaged, along with the trustee in bankruptcy and the trustee in SIPC, with investigating exactly what happened and what went wrong in this firm. I raised the point about there only being 318 securities accounts because it is a very tiny part of what happened here as compared to the future side. So the primary regulator there was the Chicago Mercantile Exchange.
If I could take back my time, we're elapsed here. I need to make one more comment. From this perspective, I see all the regulators sitting in a room watching a thing turn upside down. You got 36,000 hog farmers and dairy farmers and people out here who've got their money at stake. They would be the 99%. I see regulators which allowed Goldman Sachs to come in and buy assets, George Soros to buy assets at deeply discounted prices, all the while saying that we're there to stop misconduct, watching people dip into the customer trading accounts without securitizing it on the other end. For 4 or 5 days, the regulators sat there. And we talk every day in this administration about fairness to the 99%. But when I see the actions, I see things that look desperately like the 1% got much more fair treatment than the 99%.
Congressman, let me just say that if there are violations of the law here, we will pursue them with as much vigor and force as we possibly can.
Hear that, but the last time we questioned, nobody had even bothered talking to Mr. Corzine. Mr. Corzine was the one at the helm. Nobody had even bothered talking. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.